Okay, so I'm gonna talk about my displacer here. I just bought from the hardware store today. Set that over there. Just bought some copper tubing. It's about an inch. Just cut some off of that. Also bought these sheets of tin, and got that. And just for the hell of it, I also bought some brass tubing because I really did not feel like ripping any tubing off the refrigerator radiator today. I had a long day at work. But what I did was I sanded down the tubing first, and then I used I'm not sure where it is at this moment. It's really dark in here, but I used a 1mm needle. I used a little punch to punch a starting point in the top of the brass tube. Right, like here's the tube, right here in the middle on the top side of the tube. And I pierced it with that needle. I drilled 2 holes in each side. And I sanded the pipe down real good. Like, I sand everything. Anything that's going to be a solder joint, I sand it. That way it sticks really good. I also clean it up with the acetone over there. Get a good stick on the solder. But yeah, and then I fed the tube through here with the hole I punched facing up. And then essentially what I did was I just set this down on the garage floor, heated it up with my torch. I also have my mini torch for more detailed work, but for bigger things like that, use the big torch. And I'm just using standard electrical solder. This is what you use to solder circuits. Get it at Radio Shack. Just standard solder. It's not pipe solder or anything. It's not the big old thick things of solder. If you get it hot enough, it'll stick, but you don't want to get it too hot because then you'll vaporize the flux out of the solder, because this has got the flux mixed with it. So if you get it too hot, it's not going to stick very well because you're vaporizing that flux. But yeah, and then I just took some square pieces of this tin. I cut them out, sanded them down real good on both sides. You want to sand them on both sides because going to be because I soldered a it's a 5/16. This is a zinc nut and bolt. I took the bolt, cut it in half so it stops at the bottom of the nut. But I also sanded the nut down. I just soldered all that on there. First I soldered the tube in on the garage floor. Then I set this up on actually the bottom end of my boiler over there with 2 little pieces of metal going across. That, because if I did it on the garage floor and try to heat it, it would just be throwing heat to the garage floor. So I put it up on a little stand. That way you can get the tin good and hot too. So I just heated it up. Just soldered around. And then let it cool for a bit so that way it wouldn't move when I picked it up. And then I just flipped it over upside down, soldered the other plate on. Once I had the plate soldered, then I tackled soldering on the nuts. And just soldered those nuts on, and yeah, just real careful not to move the pipe or anything, because once you get it hot it will weaken these. I did have to go back up and touch these joints up, get it sealed. Had a little issue with things moving. I accidentally bumped it with a torch once and hit a cold spot, and the solder ended up sticking and not melting, and then I yanked it, and yeah, it took me about an hour to get it thrown together perfectly with no leaks. But yeah, and today I also soldered this onto my boiler, which is kind of pointless since tomorrow I'm probably going to make a new boiler, but I guess I'll just cut that tube off and solder onto the new boiler. But yeah, I just used some gasket. O-rings would probably work a lot better. This is just some leftover gasket I had when I did the top end of that. I just had some leftover gasket stuff. If it's good enough for an internal combustion engine, it should be able to withstand the heat from the steam and the oil too. Because this is for inside the crankcase. It's just something that came in the gasket set. I just rebuilt the top end. I didn't do anything with the crankcase. But yeah, that's how I made my little displacer. Works pretty good. I think after I make the boiler though, I'm gonna rip it apart. Again, just take the tube out, and then get a new tube, and do what one of you guys said. I can't remember which one of you said it, but you recommended an engine this small to have a 0.5 millimeter, half a millimeter hole. So I'm gonna try that out instead, because this is a very, very tiny motor. I don't have a coin, but here is my finger. If that gives you any idea of how big this is. Like here's the 1-inch pipe. I don't even think the flywheel is smaller than an inch, but it's a tiny little motor. So tomorrow I'm gonna work on the boiler and try the boiler out. Then I'll try this out with the new boiler. If it's not satisfactory, then I'll rip it apart and put that smaller hole in there. But yep, that's my displacer.